Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I thought we could do is continue our talks about some of the earlier retro PC hardware. And moving along, this is the Fujitsu Micro 7. Now if you remember taking a look at the last video, if you had a chance to see the last video where I talked about the Micro 8, this is the successor to the Micro 8. Now if you didn't know, the Micro 8 is this guy here. This is a large, one of Fujitsu's earliest PCs, and the first one to use the FM logo. And if you take a look at it, you can see there is a pretty good size difference between the FM-7 and FM-8. And interestingly enough, this FM-7 actually got the nickname as the FM-8 Junior. And you can kind of see why. It's a little bit smaller in size, but it's not junior by any means. This is still quite a big monster here. Taking a look at the machine itself, this is almost the exact same as the FM-8, with a few little differences. One of the similarities being the fact that it does share the same hardware. Now, it does have the same 64K of RAM, it has the same 48K VRAM, and it still displays 8 colors here, pretty much like an 8-bit computer here, or an 8-bit gaming machine, which I'll get into in a little bit as well. But some of the differences were the fact that the Fujitsu Micro 8 wasn't really able to be upgraded. As you can see here, there's no really big expansion spot, there's no place to put any expansion cards, but with the FM-7, there was. If we take a look at the inside here, there's a little cover, and this just comes off. One thing you'll notice right off the bat is you'll see this huge power supply. Now this goes all the way from the right to the left, and I think it's actually bigger than the one that's in the FM-8. But you'll also notice some other things on the inside here. You'll notice there's 3 bays, and these 3 compartments were actually used for additional plugins. One of the plugins being an extra Z80 processor, CPU, that could be plugged in here, and then the other ones were for other peripherals that could be added on at an extra cost. This is, once again, this is the home version, whereas the Fujitsu Micro 8 is the office version, or business version. And this one is quite unique. At its time, this was competing with some other hardware that's very commonly known around Japan and probably around the world as of right now. But this thing was competing with the NEC PC8801. It was also competing with the Sharp X1 hardware, which are both very similar to this at the time. And unfortunately, over the years, or over time, the FM-7 began to become less and less popular and eventually was just forgotten about. We'll move on to that in a little bit as well. If we take a look at the back here, we can see that this has the reset button still located in the back. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have the button on it. You can see the audio cassette port, or the gaming port. This is where the game tapes could be loaded right into the machine. You needed a data recorder or a tape player, much like the for the UK guys, very similar to the ZX Spectrum, I believe. It offered very limited amount of colors on screen, but it was pretty decent for its time. It has the CRT monitor plug, which was the exact same one that was in the FM-8. You could use that for this as well. And had a speaker extension here where you could put in external speakers, as well as the printer port and the expansion for the 5 1/4 floppies. So here you can see the boot and the clock speed jumpers here, where you can change those and change the speed for the system. But this machine here, when it was released, there were a couple of interesting parts about it. When this one was released, it was quite popular. It was used quite a bit. And due to its success, when it came out, there were other variations made. Now, taking into consideration the FM-8 here, the FM-8 went and retailed for about $2 grand. The FM-7 was about half that. It retailed for about $1,000 or so. So much, much more cost effective and much, much smaller, obviously, to be able to fit inside the home. Once they made the FM-7, what they did is they made another variation called this guy. This is the FM-7. Now, as far as the difference between the two of these, there's very small difference. I believe, if anything, it's just a small difference between some of the CPU hardware. And other than that, it uses basically the same exact casing. It uses the same casing, the similar print. There was only a few differences that they had done with it, but they had kept kind of the similar design. One thing you'll see here is this one has a Fujitsu logo up at the top. This one is missing the Fujitsu logo. You'll see that this one is casted just in regular plastic and the same color as this, whereas this one is casted in black. But overall, it basically has the same look and the same kind of parts. Now, on the inside, if we take a look at the inside as well, you'll see we still have our very huge power supply, and we have our 3 expansion bays. And other than that, there's not really much of a difference. One thing you will notice, though, as that can be very easily noticed, is the color difference. Now, this thing actually has kind of like a peach color to it, whereas this one kind of has a green-yellow. And both of these were originally the same color. They were about the same color as this gray, light gray color. But over time, the fire retardant inside the plastic has seeped through, and it's changed the color on both of these machines. Now, for some people, even myself, when I first got these machines, I thought to myself, well, wow, you know, when I got the Micro 7, I thought, wow, this is, you know, really ugly. It's a yellow-green kind of color, and it's, you know, it's the top and the bottom, so, and it's just, it doesn't look appealing. And then when I got the FM-7, it kind of has this peach color to it, and then I started to think, like, wow, this is kind of cool. In a way, it's like having the different color variants of one of the newer video game machines, you know. You have the the slime green color, and then you have the peach color, peach salmon color. So, nonetheless, it's kind of neat. I like the uniqueness of having these two here with a little bit of a color difference. The main reason why these 3 machines here wound up dying off, the new FM-7, the FM-7, and the Micro 8, was based on the successor in the series. You know, the one that came out after this was the FM-77. Now, the FM-77 had many variations to it, had about 6 or 8 different variations to it, but what was nice about the FM-77 is it was backwards compatible, so you could play any of the FM-7 games on it, you could do any of the Micro 8 processing on it. It had all of the stuff that you needed into one machine, so eventually the usage and the need for the FM-8, which came out in '81, and then the FM-7 here, which came out in '82, just disappeared. So these became kind of lost into history, and some people, you know, really to this day still swear by them as being fantastic PCs, and in fact really great gaming PCs as well. But for a lot of people, I think they moved on to the FM-77, and then the more popular one that many people know of is the FM Towns, which really took off because it was 32-bit, but just thought I'd share a little bit of some of this history here with you guys on these old dinosaur, prehistoric, well, not really prehistoric, but you know, these old retro PCs, and kind of how they've led up to some of the earlier or the recent gaming that we know today. Really important pieces of history here. But nonetheless, just thought I'd give you a little bit of a look, and unfortunately I still don't have a monitor that I can connect up to these machines yet, but when I do get a chance, I'll get that ready, and we'll do a little bit of gaming on here and show you guys what these things look like. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching.